What's going on this morning? We are on Lake of the Ozarks. The day before the Toyota Series starts tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, 2025 in September. It's going to be a good tournament. Everybody's going to have a good time. I am not fishing it. Too much going on. Way too much going on. Get into that a little bit later, but the fishing has been good. The fishing has been really good, except if you're in a tournament, it's tough to get that 5-6 pound bite. The people that are getting 5 and 6 pound bites, as always, are up there, either winning the tournament or at least in the top 10. It doesn't matter if you were in the Show Me Fish tournament. For the river tournament, Lawson and Bo had a 6 pounder. They end up winning. It's good fishing. So a lot of fish are shallow. You can flip docks. Brush is good. Brush doesn't have to be there. They're really, really pushing shallow. It kind of depends on how much water's coming out of Truman, which isn't much, but just enough to keep the water level at that 658.1 to keep them up there. Because a couple weeks ago, if you remember, during the BFL, right before, the water dropped down far enough that got them off of those shallower docks. Now, can you catch them shallow? Does that mean go in the back of the creeks? Not really. So you can catch them on the main lake shallow. You can catch them in the back of the creek shallow, but I think I tend to stay more main lake throughout this time period when the water temp's still up there, as long as the shad are still out on the main lake. Because we're sitting out in the condo checking out the banks every night. You see all these schools of shad still on the main lake. Now there's still shad in the back of some of the creeks. So if you find that concentration of bait, if you find that concentration of bait, then you are around the bass. So what baits are working? The shaky head's still working. I think a jig is very hard to beat right now. If you can get dialed into a jig bite, that's probably your number one go-to. If you're not getting the jig bites that you want, use the trailer that you're using. So we've been using the Bojangle Z-Daddy. Hardly can beat that bait. If you're a Zoom fan, a Z-Crawl Junior, if you're a brush hog guy, using any of those creature baits, anything that resembles a bluegill, you're good to go. So match your colors to the water clarity. You get up in there in that dirty water, that black neon comes into play, black and blue flake comes into play. A lot of the lake is clear right now. We haven't had much rain. Now, that's changed in the last couple of days. The rain finally came. So, is that going to make the water come up? It could. Is that going to turn on the fish down at the dam in the clearest water? I would say yes, but I have not been out there the last couple days. So, the entire lake is going to come into play. So, pick your poison, but the jig was really, really good when we had that hot weather. The other things are going to start to come into play. Your glides, your topwaters, your square bills, your moving baits, chatterbait is going to come into play. If you like to shake a minnow, that's fine. But the fish have really been tucked up under these docks, so you can definitely shake a minnow, of course. You can live scope and drop shot, of course, but flip bite has been the go-to. And like I said, that was last week, that was the week before. It was hot, kind of really set up for flipping. When we don't have much wind and it's hot, you can't ask for a better lake to be out on to flip. Now, that doesn't mean you can just throw a big old, bulky jig and get a bunch of bites. That hasn't worked for me. I had to scale down. I've got to go down to the little roundhead, your little Eakins, your little LBJs, and just throw smaller trailers, a Zoom Speed Crawl, a Z Daddy Jr., a Menace, good old Fat Albert, a Yamamoto Double Tail, stuff like that is really, really key to generating limits. Now, this coming weekend is going to be different. There's going to be a lot more pressure. All the pros are in town. Even at the place we live, we've got pros lining up. They're staying there. They're putting more pressure on the lake. So that's going to make a difference. If you had a laydown where you did get a kicker, you better not rely on it. Because if it gets picked off again, if it's not super aggressive, if it's sore lip, you can't go back there and catch those isolated shallow fish over and over and over and over. They're going to get pretty wary. The last couple weeks, you could still fish in the glaze pretty easy during the week and catch fish. That's going to get to where they might switch over to a Cinco or an Ocho, a Nico. You might have to finesse them a little bit because we've got a lot of pressure going on. I don't know what will win the Toyota. I would say if you have 15 a day, you're going to get a check. This is a boater side. If you have 15 a day, you're going to get a check. If you have 18 a day, you're playing with the top 5. 18 a day to be in the top 5. Somebody's going to catch 20, and those are pretty good weights for September. So remember in the past where the brush bite was on, if you had brush piles in 15 to 20, that would be something to key on. If it got cloudy and you got on something at the dam, anywhere, but the topwater bite was a player, so and that could still be a player, but that deep brush bite has really not been the dominant pattern, I would say, compared to just putting your head down and flipping. You can pick a cove, you can pick a row of docks. If it's docks that aren't necessarily shallow, just fish shallow. That means keep your jig up in the water column and just keep going. If you get to some flat docks, flip all around them. They might be on the front, they might be on the back. They're not really necessarily on one part of the dock, so you got to really put your head down and flip and flip and flip and flip. The bite's been pretty good, so it'll be interesting to see what people really stick with. If not, by the time Friday and Saturday comes around, they might just be, they might have a couple jigs on the deck and a buzzbait or something. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. If you stick with that, you're probably going to have a good tournament. Somebody that dials in something a little tricky in an area that hasn't been so pounded. Say you go way up the river and you find like a Turkey Creek that hasn't had a lot of pressure, you could have a really good tournament. If you go towards the dam and you find, I won't say like Buck Creek, but one of those between the toll bridge and the Gravois, and you find that one little nick and cranny, that little bank right off the main lake that's got, some docks with a lot of fish on it, you're going to have a good tournament. What has been happening is there's docks with multiple fish on them. For some reason that I wouldn't say schooled up, but if you find a good dock, you can catch several fish off the same dock. So keep your head down and pre-fishing. I'm going to say people are going to find these docks and then see how many they can catch out of them during the course of the tournament. What colors have been working? Go back to the bait. So just whatever you want. Green pumpkin. My favorite jig this past week was watermelon with light chartreuse. Kind of a color that put together a long time ago whenever I owned J-Rod jigs and now dirty jigs. I remember when Curtis came out with their round head, working with Luke Clausen, he went ahead and came out with that color as well. So it's kind of a watermelon, light watermelon. Now, if you like to put blue in it or a little bit of green, a little bit of maybe some purple, that's fine. I don't think that makes any difference. And then I was using, I forgot what the color is called, but it's there's a Z crawl, or I'm sorry, not a Z crawl, but a speed crawl from Zoom that has it's kind of a red and green and gold and silver flake in it, and I forgot what it's called. And it's not too flashy, but they seem to like that whenever there's a lot of pressure. So a lot of people just use straight green pumpkin, straight watermelon red, or and this is kind of one that just kind of offsets it a little bit, but I don't think that makes a ton of difference. If you put the right jig and the right profile, you got the right fall rate, or you figure out they want to swam, or you figure out the presentation, then don't worry about all that stuff. Just get it in the right place. Get it back there, get it right in the back where you've not spooked the fish and you're going to get bites. So anyway, all that's going on. It's going to be a great tournament. I can't wait to see what wins it, who wins it. Somebody from out of town that came up, that'd be awesome. If a local guy wins it, we've got so many good hammers on this lake, there's no telling who's going to be dialed in to win this tournament. Let's switch over. The crappie fishing has been pretty good. So the piles all around where I'm at, I'm over in the Glaze. Those have been producing pretty good. Not any giants, but if you want to catch some keeper size eating fish, you can certainly do that. You can catch them on jigs and crappie nibbles. If you get minnows, that's working even better. If you want to dock fish, that's working. I think seems to me that the crappie haven't made that big push shallow yet, but you can still, if you have some piles in 6 to 8 foot, that's working. If you want to go catfishing, you can catch catfish all over the place. If you can catch some of them little shad, you can catch them on night crawlers. You can catch little sun perches bait around the docks, around the middle of the back of the coves and deep cuts, kind of all over. If you get around the shad, even better. We've been catching some pretty big flatheads, trolling crankbaits still, and a lot of big blues on crankbaits accidentally when we're bass fishing. Or if you want to target them and troll, you can. They're the trolling bite for catfish has been just unbelievable. So keep that in mind. If you want to catch some catfish and don't have bait, you can always use crankbaits. They've been working well this summer. So get down here. It is rainy. It has changed. It's going to help the bite. It is going to make the topwater bite even better. If you want to watch the weigh-in, it's at PB2 in Osage Beach. There will be a lot of people there, a lot of people's family, especially on Saturday when the top 20% or the top 25, I'm not sure, fishes on Saturday. So that'll be a cool weigh-in. I'll definitely be there to watch that. So give us a shout. If you are interested in taking a guide trip, call me. I've got a lot of people that I can call if I can't make it. I am officially Almost. I'm waiting on one thing. One little thing. And I'm legal. So everything's good to go. All my training's done. I'm just waiting for them to print my MMC certification, and I'm done. But it's all there. It is there at the NMC office, waiting to get printed right now. I'm just waiting for them to mail it. So let's get a trip lined up. If I can't make it, then I've got lots of guide buddies that we can call and get you out on the water. So give us a shout. If you have a question about anything, email me. My phone number's there. Call the right place. Thanks for listening. Good luck to everybody at the Toyota. I'll talk to you next week.